Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and we are now 24 hours removed from Celtic's win at Easter Road yesterday, making it 2 out of 2 to start off the Scottish Premiership season. Celtic are top of the league, things are looking tasty. Brendan Rodgers is cooking. Now hurry up and back him and give him some players, thanks. If you haven't already, please make sure to go down below and hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. It's a fresh week at Celtic Football Club, which hopefully means we'll have a few things to talk about as we come to the end of the transfer window. However, judging off the rest of the window thus far, I really doubt that, but we're trying to get towards 50,000 subscribers. We're almost at 46k, so if you haven't, please go down, hit those buttons. You can still enter the giveaway in the description below as well. The winners for that will be revealed on the 25th of August. But enough yapping, let's talk about Celtic. So a great result for Celtic at Easter Road yesterday, a 2-0 win, which keeps us top of the table as things stand. A perfect start to the season, you could say. 6 points, 6 goals, none conceded. And just up there with Aberdeen at the moment, still 2 points clear of Rangers. So, you know, it's been a good start. I think yesterday was another fine example of how far this team has come under Brendan Rodgers. I thought that the comments under my match reaction yesterday were quite unfair towards Celtic. I think a lot of people were getting bogged down in yesterday's performance, saying that it wasn't good enough or it was resemblant of last season where we played well in the first half and not so well in the second. I think we're just at the point where we want to nitpick about anything. If I'm being completely honest, I don't agree with it. And as I always say, people are entitled to their opinions. If you didn't enjoy the game, I can't force you to enjoy certain halves or certain segments of play. If you didn't enjoy the second half, you didn't enjoy it. But I think it is really nitpicking, and it's once again an example of Celtic fans being, you know, we demand perfection. I understand that, but Easter Road is one of the toughest places to go in this league, no matter how good or bad Hibs are at whatever point in time. And I'm just delighted that the difference between this point last year when we visited Easter Road to this point this year, the difference is unbelievable. It's night and day. There's been a full transformation in our style of football. Listen, Celtic won 2-0 going on 5 yesterday. They could have scored more. Yeah, the first half performance was better than the second. There's no doubt about that. But we still had our chances in the second half. We still could have scored 1 or 2. Cal McGregor hit the post. Matt O'Reilly had a header that should have been better. He hit it right at the keeper. We still played well across both halves, and when you consider as well that the bench at Celtic isn't the greatest at the minute, you know, you've still got a lot of players on that bench that maybe shouldn't be at the club. We made short work of Hibs yesterday, and I think that you should be delighted with 3 points at such a tough venue, to be quite honest. It wasn't a task to watch. We played really, really nice stuff at times in that game. And it continues on this development of Brendan Rodgers' Celtic side. So, yeah, I thought a lot of the comments were a little bit unfair towards the team yesterday. And listen, I'm always the first one to try and be as brutally honest as I can when I come on this platform. You know, there's no point in sugarcoating. There's no point in beating around the bush. I've always said it as it is. It's one of the things I've prided myself on throughout the entirety of having this YouTube channel. But yesterday, I thought it was fine. I was delighted with what we've seen. And it's a nice dress rehearsal for the game against them this weekend in the League Cup. So, top of the league. Smile, everybody. Smile. Now, one of the bigger talking points about yesterday's game is the fitness and injury update. After yesterday, we've seen a couple of players forced off through injury. And obviously, there's a bit of conversation surrounding Kyogo and Luis Palma too, who suffered a bit of a knock. So let's talk about all of those players. Brendan Rodgers has given us an update, and it's safe to say, and I'm delighted to say, that it's more positive than negative for now. So this was his update. First of all, he said that Mikey Johnson was taken off as a precaution because he felt dazed and his vision was a bit blurred. Of course, it was a horrible one he took. That's understandable. Alistair Johnston, he went off through a bit of tightness. There was no need to risk him when Anthony was on the side. So obviously Ralston came on for Johnston in the game. Luis Palma will be out for 10 days to a couple of weeks. So this seems to be the longest injury at the moment at Celtic. He said if you look the challenge back, it's a really nasty injury for him. He did amazing to play on. When you see the rotation in his ankle, he will have a little bit of time away. And then finally spoke about the big one, the one that's concerning most people, Kyogo, saying he had an issue with the shoulder. Obviously, they've tried to put it back in place, but he's felt the pain, so he didn't want to risk that. But hopefully, he'll be okay in the next couple of days. The one that annoys me the most is Palmer's. I feel really, really bad for him because, you know, you can talk about injury prone or fitness issues or whatnot. Palmer can't help what happened to him. And, you know, him being out for a couple of weeks, I feel really bad because I wanted this to be a launch pad for him to try and take his Celtic career to that level we maybe expected it. Back when he first signed, I was hoping he would get some time over the next few weeks, maybe even a start in the cup game, and he would show us what he showed us when he first arrived at the club, but sadly doesn't look as though that's going to be the case because he's out for a couple of weeks. Kyogo, on the other hand, the big conversation that spawned from that injury is the fact that we need Adam Idah through the door ASAP. Kyogo's shoulder is a constant fear, and at any given moment it feels like that thing can pop out of place. So we need Idah in. We need to relieve some of that pressure that's on Kyogo to play 90 minutes week in, week out. And they need to sort that shoulder of his, because it's like a wrestling figure, you know, like just pop it in, pop it out, and it can't be good for him. So that was the injury update. Nothing seems too serious, which is good. The only one, as I said, I kind of gutted about is Lewis Palmer. Anyway, that does it for our chat about the game yesterday. We'll, of course, be talking about the game next weekend more in depth as we go on through the week, and the podcast, of course, which is due to come out on Friday. So keep an eye out on the channel. Hopefully we can make it 2 out of 2 against Hibs this season very early on. But we've got a few things to talk about, so let's jump over to them very quickly. So a very quick edition of Celtic Transfer Talk to finish off today's video, because there's a few stories out there to keep your eye on. First off, we've got to talk about Matt O'Riley, who is going to be subject to another few bids through the week for his services. It was reported by Di Marzio in Italy that Atalanta are preparing their 5th bid for the player after the last bid was rejected just before the weekend. They want to come back in following their remember the last bid was 23 million euros reportedly. That was rejected by the club, still nowhere near the valuation of the player. We know that Celtic want as close to £30 million as possible. 23 million euros only works out, you know, around what, 20 million quid. Still a good 8, 9, 10 million pounds to go before that conversation even takes off, but they are due to arrive with their 5th bid for the player. They aren't giving up. Atalanta are the team who I feel like could lure his services, lure the player, if they try for it seriously. I think that's the move that Matt O'Riley would want. European football, European top 5 league, chance to go and win trophies at a European level. They've done it last year. They won the Europa League. This would be the move I think Matt O'Riley would favour the most, but they've got to get near the figure. It's also been reported in the news that Bournemouth are maybe looking to join the race. The Mail on Sunday reported that due to the sale and the departure of Dominic Solanke to Tottenham, that they could maybe consider a move for O'Riley. So we know there's a few teams interested. The ones that seem most prominent at the moment are Brighton and Atalanta. Just watch how it goes through the week. It's going to ramp up. The big transfer story that took off at the weekend was that one surrounding Jeffrey Schlupp of Crystal Palace. It was revealed by Sky Sports that Celtic had reportedly sent an inquiry ahead to Palace to see what it would take to get him this season. The left midfielder slash left back slash left winger slash central midfielder slash right winger slash right midfielder. It's a very versatile player. It's down to the last year of his contract at Crystal Palace, and Palace themselves have been reported that they'll allow the player to move on this summer should the business be right. Celtic do want him, apparently, and he could be coming in. We spoke about it very much in depth on the live stream on Friday night on the channel, so if you want to go back and hear my opinions there, go and listen to it, but waiting to see if more kicks off from it to go any further with talking about the player and the story itself, because who knows, it might be a non-starter. I think it would be a decent enough signing for Celtic, but we'll just need to wait and see where it goes. Palace are interested in the business though. Also an interesting one reported by Fabrizio Romano this morning, which might be one to keep your eye on, is this. Chris Mepham of Bournemouth has been told he can leave either on loan or permanently this season. Ipswich, Torino and Anderlecht are all in the race, with more expected to join as he's ready to try a new chapter. Now, this is interesting because right at the start of the transfer window, Chris Mepham was one of the first players linked with Celtic, and it was reported that Brendan Rodgers was pushing for the player and very high on the player. Now, it's one of those ones you can only take with a pinch of salt, but now that he's been told by Bomb if he can leave the club, it'll be interesting to see if Celtic's name gets linked with him throughout the week. Some big teams interested, including Ipswich, who are a Premier League side, so I don't think it would be one that's easy for Celtic to pull off, but we might end up linked. Watch that over the next 48 hours, because I'm telling you, it'll pop up somewhere. And finally, just on a general point, and a point that we've been saying day after day, week after week for the last wee while now, is we need to get business done. We have so little time left in this window, and we've not touched on any of the areas we had to. Liam Scales is still starting games for Celtic when he's clearly not good enough to be a regular starter. And I mean that with all due respect to him, but it's just the truth. You know, there's other players in this team who you could argue are maybe needing built on, improved in areas that definitely need more depth. We've not done it. And Brendan Rodgers has said it time after time, we hope to have players in, we want players in, and it's not happening. The board are letting the manager down. Back him or lose him. I'm going to keep saying it until we actually do that and we back him. The fans have made their voice clear. We need to get this business done, so hopefully this week we start hearing something, but I feel like it's been every week. I feel like I've been saying the same thing, and it's all I can do. You know, I can't make these transfers happen, sadly, so yeah, don't shoot the messenger. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. Going to wrap it up there. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be so much appreciated. But we'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with a lot to talk about. Until then, I'll see you all next time.